had your colleague, Mark Agnifilo, Diddy's lead lawyer, on TMZ Live yesterday. And he kind of dropped something really interesting. Home confinement instead of prison for Diddy. And here's the way it came up. I asked him about whether Diddy was getting therapy for anger management and for substance abuse. And he said there was already a plan to engage professionals from the outside. And as soon as I heard him say outside, I was ready. And I asked him, well, wait a minute. Does this mean because on the outside, you're saying you can get better treatment than on the inside? And if you're already looking for people, the way I'm connecting the dots is that you're going to ask for home confinement so he can get therapy to help him rehabilitate himself. And he said, well, yeah, possibly. He's such a good lawyer. I don't think the word possibly is the right answer for this. I think certainly is the right answer.
Well, remember, in federal court, when you have the sentencing guidelines, and which are no longer, you're no longer constrained, but they're advisory, as you know. If you look at the guidelines on this case, the guidelines are very low and arguably should be very low, given that and the judge was the one who ordered that they kind of survey all past cases to see if they've ever come up with a comparable situation. I don't know that anybody's come up with anything that's comparable. And when I say that, what I mean is where you have been convicted of a Mann Act violation, you're sitting in custody, and the facts around it are that a male was transported across state lines to have a sex act, but not with you. So that's a pretty unique situation. Given that situation, the sentencing guidelines, contrary to what the prosecution was arguing the day of the acquittals, remember they stood up then. Yep. Maureen Comey had said, I think she said 41 to 50 months or 50 to 61 months or something in that range, which I thought was way above where the guidelines are. I think the guidelines here are somewhere in that 20-month range. All of that is a long way of saying, if you go below that, which arguably you should in this case because of the unique facts that I just said, that generally gives you a split sentence. That's what they call a split sentence in federal court. Split sentence would be you do a period of confinement and then a period of home arrest. So you were there. You got it. A split sentence should be he should be out. He will have done a year at the time of sentencing if the president does not intervene, and that the remainder of that sentence should be done at home under home confinement.
Oh my gosh, that is so interesting because what Agnifilo was talking about was supervised confinement. And I thought to myself, I can't remember the exact term, is supervised. But what he was insinuating was that it would be part of his sentence, almost like a halfway house. And that's exactly what you're saying, that
correct. There's a slight difference between, obviously more than a slight difference, but you have a halfway house, which is generally when you've been sent to prison, and then before you get released, a lot of times there'll be that way station, which is a halfway house, depending on how much time is spent, things of that nature. But in a situation where you've got time in, and he has a considerable amount of time in, if you follow the guidelines or go below the guidelines, then you're looking at a sentence that he'd be released under supervised release, which is what a lot of people would normally understand to be probation, and then on condition of home confinement. I had, for instance, last year a client who was given home confinement and did not do time in custody, but was given home confinement for a 6-month period of time and was put on the monitor, basically, and had terms and conditions. You can go to church, you can go to medical appointments, things of that nature.
That totally makes sense now that I think back to the interview. So what he's saying is Diddy will have put in almost a year behind bars. And
more than a year.
And if he gets 2 years, Agnifilo actually said 2 to 3, but I think it's somewhere between 1.5 and 3. But even
it's funny you say 1.5 and 3. The way I calculate the sentencing guidelines, I think it's between 20 and 27 months if he doesn't get something to go below that.
Right. So if he splits the difference, I mean, theoretically, Diddy, if the judge buys this supervised release, which clearly now Mark even mentioned supervised release specifically in my interview with him. So that's what he's talking about. So basically saying, essentially give him time served behind bars, send him home. He'll be under home arrest, essentially home confinement for the duration of that, whether it's another 12 or 15 months or whatever. So that's what he's asking for. And that's why they've already assembled this team of professionals to give him therapy, right?
Well, the federal criminal defense lawyers who practice or the people who work in the federal system are going to email me and say, make it clear that there's always going to be supervised release, and that's I'll make that clear. But yes, you could have a team of professionals. You could have.
Mark said it. Mark already said. He told me they were assembling a team of professionals.
You could cooperate with a plan that the court orders. I mean, there's a laundry list of conditions the court can order. That could be them. Look, you've heard me say this 100 times. I've known Sean for years, well over a decade. I think you can directly correlate the violence in his life to the periods of time when he was struggling with substance abuse. I think there is a direct correlation. I think that he recognized that. I think he said it. I think after the 2016 incident when he hit rock bottom, he got and understood he had a problem. So if you're looking at this holistically, globally, and I know there's always going to be the people who say, no, there's no forgiveness, blah, blah, blah. Understand something. He was acquitted of the mandatory minimum counts. So a judge has to sit there and say to himself, okay, I know what he was convicted of. The whole mandate of being a federal judge is no disparity in sentencing, which is why, in my opinion, I haven't talked to him, obviously, except that one time where he said he was subscribing to Watch You and Me. But where the no disparity in sentences is why His Honor issued an order that said, give me a survey of similarly situated cases. I want to make sure that I don't engage in some kind of disparity, that I don't, I mean, he didn't say this, but I would say, if I was sitting on the bench, I would say, just because the prosecutor gets up here and starts saying 50 to 60 months, or we're going to do considerably more, are they doing that because that's what the guidelines call for, or are they doing that because they're sore losers?
Okay.
You hear it yourself right there, man. They're saying like this could be an option. You know what I mean? I was just thinking, why was the judge just holding on to him so much if he's not going to try to give him like the at least close to what the prosecution was asking, like maybe like 5 years or so, which is basically standard in a case like that, which they were saying. But Diddy's case is different. Like I said, it's an anomaly. It's an exceptional case or exceptional circumstances in this case. So he can do like a year and change, which he's done. And they're thinking like he can get everything else on the back end and be home and do home confinement. Will this really go down? We already know that Mark Agnifilo has said that he is putting together this team, these professionals, and all of these things that's happening already. But will it go down? It is all up to the judge. It's all going to be based on what the judge feels, what he feels is justice. Does he feel that Diddy did enough time already in jail now? and paid his debt to society? Does he feel like the potential victims, if they're victims that you feel are victims in this case, does he feel like that's been satisfied? Then he may be also thinking, I'm talking about the judge, then he may be also thinking about public opinion as well. We're all human. We may say we don't care what people think, and you don't care what the public think, and you got a YouTube channel, you don't care what nobody in your chat say. We can say that all we want, but we're human. Trust me. We think about more things than we actually tend to think of. You know what I'm saying? And come on. We're human. We're human. So like I said, it's all up to the judge. What is Judge Aaron going to do? Like I said, the whole world was watching Diddy. I think we're still looking at Diddy to say, hey, what's going to be? What's going to happen with Diddy? What is it to be? But I think at this moment, especially after that verdict, I think the whole world's just been watching Judge Aaron because the light's on him now. It's about what he's going to do. It's about how he's going to rule on this case. So we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. I want everybody getting in the comments. I want everybody subscribing to the channel. Turn the notification bells on. Make sure you're notified, all right? I want everybody subscribing to the Instagram, the TikTok, OotaOnGo on all platforms. You already know the vibes. Cash App, OotaOnGo. Salute to everybody that's Cash Apping me, super chatting, doing all the good things while we live. I appreciate that energy always. Listen, y'all stay blessed. Make sure y'all stay blessed. This is a quick update. I got a few more uploads to upload. Just make sure you're checking out my upload section, short section, and the lives. But I'm trying to get more in this upload section and my shorts. I'm going to try to kind of use it to update you with other things that's going to be featured, whether in uploads or featured on lives or upcoming streams. So salute to everybody. You already know the vibe. Nothing but love to all of y'all. You already know, man. Oota, oota, oota. Always gonna go.